Nvidia could be in trouble if AMD strike first with a very powerful GPU. We're just starting to get some possible rumors, nothing concrete yet, that AMD may be planning to release their most powerful GPU yet. Remember when they said they could have made a 4090 competitor, but they didn't want to spend any of the resources to do so? Well, it looks like potentially soon they're going to be gearing up with a big release. Obviously, we need a 7800 XT in there somewhere that's well priced in order to take on the high GPU prices. It needs to take on probably the 4070 Ti at probably a better price if AMD wants to sell them, and not $600 plus like it's probably likely going to come in at. But that GPU may affect Nvidia. What really does probably piss Nvidia off is when somebody tries to take the top spot. The 4090 has remained mostly uncontested. And now let's hear a word from our sponsor, VIP-CDKdeals.com, a Windows 10 Pro CD key. Add to cart, you put in code CC20. This will also work on Windows 11. You want to go into your settings in Windows, change and adjust your CD key, click activate, and now let's go back to the video. And I still think with a high-end AMD GPU, while they're not going to take all of the crowns because the 4090 after all is still really powerful, that has a lot of like ray tracing potential, the AMD GPU could certainly embarrass it in traditional rasterization where AMD has been doing really well. Let's talk about the potential GPUs that they could release. 7950 XT and the 7950 XTX. That would basically be like the overclocked, bumped up, upgraded version of the 7900 and the XTX that we have currently. It would most likely retain the same amount of VRAM. We're talking about 24 gigabytes on the higher end one and 20 gigabytes on the regular XT, which is absolutely fine. That's about the same and better than what Nvidia has, since Nvidia has 24 gigabytes of VRAM on the 4090 and then only 16 on the 4080, albeit it is the faster X variety of VRAM, but as long as we have a good amount, I think we should be okay. After all, other things that could come to this VRAM, it's going to be probably faster. I mean, that's what AMD did with the 6900 XT when they went to the 6950 XT. Overall, the memory speed is better on that upgraded GPU. So we could see the same thing happen here, which would just go and improve the overall performance of the GPU, better textures, probably a little bit better ray tracing performance as well. And then of course, it just could boost higher, better clock speeds to give it that better performance to really outmatch the 4090 in many titles. That's sort of what we think would happen. It's hard to tell what the power would be. Possibly it could stay the same while getting better performance. Ideally, that's what it should be. So to show kind of like, going forward in technology, but we don't know if AMD will do that. They may bump it up like 50 watts or something like that in order to really make sure that they can put the 4090 to rest, at least in traditional rasterization. Because remember, Nvidia probably won't let this slide for long, or they could even release something themselves before AMD has the chance to release these higher end GPUs. I mean, a 4090 Ti is certainly something that is completely plausible. They would have to price it at probably close to $1999 in order not to cannibalize the sales of the existing 4090, which are abundantly in stock pretty much every single retailer across the globe. So 4090 Ti would definitely be probably better because the ray tracing is going to be superior. The 4090 already is a good step ahead of everything else, but it's interesting to see at what price the 7950 XTX would come in at. Right now, the regular version is $999, and even though that one is more popular than the regular XT, it's certainly not selling like it did when it first came out. Many of them are on store shelves, so if AMD prices it too high, while some people will buy that GPU in the current market, it's going to be a tough sell. Maybe the best thing they could do is replace the 7900 XTX with that GPU and then just bump down the price of the entire product stack. Imagine getting a new upgraded XTX 7950 at $999 with even better VRAM, better performance to take on the 4090. And if it stayed at $999, I think that would probably satisfy many gamers. It would would make people pretty happy, meaning that all of the other GPUs have to come down in price. The 7900 XT has not sold well, and basically AMD already has it down to $799 from its $899 price anyway. So then they could bump that GPU down, maybe at $699. It might be a little bit more popular, and that would make room for an $899 7950 XTX. Then that would make a little bit more sense. That would be faster overall than the previous version. And while I don't think AMD may start that one off at $799, certainly that would definitely be the move to go to make gamers happier. And you would have a $200 price difference between that and the top end version, which is probably what it should be at least, because generally the XTX seems to be performing much better than the current XT by a much bigger margin than just that naming would indicate. It's not a small bump, it's almost a different class of GPU. So if AMD does that and then they release a 7800 XT, maybe around the price of a 4070 but with much better performance, we could see them perhaps at least get some mind share, if not market share. AMD always seems to struggle to actually produce enough GPUs when they have a certain one that's in demand, like the 7900 XTX when that first came out. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if they could actually put up the numbers to keep up with Nvidia, even with like lower market sales, something that's priced really well and then performs really well, at least relative to what's out now. That would be something that could definitely at least sell more units of the current GPUs that are currently on the market. And then it would be up to Nvidia to react to either lower their pricing further, which they've shown signs that it's going to be absolutely essential to do so if they want to keep moving product, and also release their own high-end versions. I don't think we really need an RTX 4090 Ti. The 4090 is expensive enough and powerful enough, but to be honest, the inner enthusiast in me wants to see the fastest GPU come out anyway, and it doesn't always make sense. The 3090 Ti didn't make any sense, and it was terribly financially in terms of the value for the GPU, but it was cool to see the fastest 3090 they could produce. At least on that end, some people will agree, but overall, it's really not needed. What we do need are lower GPU prices across every single price segment, not just the higher price GPUs, but especially the mid-range and the cheaper GPUs, because that's where a lot of people are buying GPUs, and the prices have been just way too high. So maybe some more competition will reduce those prices. So hopefully at least AMD is here to bring some product to the table. Otherwise, it would just be us and Nvidia, and they would continue to just charge whatever they want, and it probably would be even worse. So competition is good. Hopefully these GPUs really surprise us with the pricing and performance, and hopefully they surprise Nvidia enough for them to lower prices and release better GPUs than they have been doing so for the last few releases, like with the bandwidth VRAM limited 4070 and 4070 Ti. All right, guys, so remember to subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.